said I was going to make this video like right after the transfer happened, but got sidetracked. So it's a few weeks later, or actually a couple weeks later now at this point, and I just figured I would do this video. It's a lot easier than trying to type out everything that I've had to do, how long I've been doing everything to get up to this point. And you know, just kind of more personable, I guess you can say, and I can kind of describe and go into a lot more detail about things. But I am hoping to keep up with these videos along my journey. So I am, there's my little man. So I am wanting to just kind of keep up with everything, what's new, what's happening, and just things like that. So yeah, stay tuned. You say hi?
Hello.
Yeah.
I want a banana.
You want a banana? Well, let's get you banana.
Okay.
Okay, so he has a banana, so we're all good. But first thing that I kind of want to go over is just kind of thanking everybody who commented on my status about, you know, prayers, sticky thoughts, you know, just things like that, because it definitely helped. After I got through that initial application to where they said, hey, you know, everything kind of looks like we can move forward, the next step that I did was my psych evaluation, which was like an hour-long video conference because they were in Houston. But an hour-long video conference and then a 300 questionnaire just about psych evaluation, like very likely, not likely, that this fits you, this doesn't fit you type questions. 300 of those. Took me a lot longer than I thought, just because you had to really read the questions because a lot of them repeated themselves, but in a different way. Like one said not, and one said, you know, they didn't have not. So you had to really make sure that you were reading it to make sure that you were answering it based on how you actually are. So I got that done. And then after my psych evaluation, once I was cleared on that, then we moved forward with the matching process. I might be lucky. I don't really know. I only saw my intended parents, like their profile, and that's the one that I chose. So, you know, they said that they were interested in me. I was interested in them. So it's kind of like dating, but for intended parents and surrogates. But if you like the vibe that you have with them, if you feel comfortable, that is like the main thing that they want you to do, is they want you to feel comfortable. So as long as you feel comfortable, all of that stuff, then we discuss, hey, like we really like you, I really like you, let's do this. That's pretty much how it went. They do have a representative because they don't speak very well like English. So, you know, it was a lot of communication after the video chat with the representative and me, just kind of like discussing that is something that I feel comfortable with, they feel comfortable with, and we moved forward. So once we moved forward from the matching process, it seemed like it took a little bit longer. It feels like a lot of the surrogate processes are like, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then wait. Once the legal started, which means they provided me a lawyer, they have their own lawyer, and we discussed contract. There's a lot involved in the contract, which I might make another video about that, just kind of the ins and outs of going back and forth, what's included in the contract, things like that. I definitely will do that because I know I searched a lot of those on YouTube and I just feel like people want to know what the process is. So I'll make another video about the legal because there's a lot involved into that. And then after the legal was cleared, I waited for my period to happen and then I could start medication. So the medication goes into a lot of detail, and I'll be as detailed as I can be. there's a lot involved. Like, this is my calendar about all of my medication. There's 2 more pages. This is my calendar for all of my medicine. So it started back in February, on February 9th. And at that time, I was just taking birth control. And that's just kind of to track my cycle. And then once I had my appointment just to see where my uterus is and how thick I was and yada, yada, yada. Once everything looked good from that appointment, which was on February 12th, I moved to starting my medication on February 15th. And that I was still taking the birth control on that day. And then I started the Lupron, which is this thing. That is it. And I actually still have some in here. But it just comes in a little vial like that. It is injectable. See, it's all liquid. And for this shot, this goes in my belly. So it started in my belly with me just taking the shots. I'll show you the needle. So this is my Lupron needle. Just a little itty bitty thing. Goes in my belly. I can't even tell that, but it's not that big. Those didn't hurt at first. And I say that because I think with my cycle, you know, trying to be tracked, and with this injection, things like that, I started to bloat really bad. And me, just personally, when I like bloat, I try to like tighten my muscles to just look flat, I guess. And so when I would give myself the shot in my stomach, I would tighten my muscle. So a couple of days, I stuck my muscle when it was tight, and that left a bruise. Only happened a couple times, but man, yeah, when I did it that time, like whenever I was tightening my muscles, yeah, they hurt. They were not pleasant, and yeah, I just couldn't relax for some reason. Yeah. But the ones in my belly, like I said, I started those on February 15th, and then I did those every single day until, actually, yeah, I did those for quite a while actually, because I started my second medication actually during the daily shots in my belly. So on February 27th, and I know these dates are getting all over the place. So February 15th is when I started my Lupron in my stomach. February 27th is when I actually started doing the shots in my hip, which is my estrogen, which is this one. Is this that one? This is a different vial, but it's that one. So that is my estrogen. So I started that on February 27th. And the ones in my butt, I have been on the Depo shot, which is a type of birth control where you get it every 3 months and they can give you shots depending on where you want it. I always chose my hip. So I've been used to shots in my hip, but I've never given myself a shot in my hip. I've always gone into the doctors to get it done. So yeah, so starting the ones in my hip was a little difficult, I guess you can say. The very first shot, in my hip, the one on February 27th, I FaceTimed my best friend, and I was like, I just need someone to talk to. Like, Jelani wasn't home. I was like, I just need someone to talk to try and get it done, right? So I got the medication, which this is the needle for the drawing up of medicine. That thing is a honker, but that is how I drew up the medication. Then I twisted the cap off, and then I put on the one that you actually, you know, put in your body. That one, should have had this open before. That one, I did that one. So you can tell that it's definitely not as thick as the one that you draw up the medication. I'll show you right there. The pink one is the draw up. The gray one is what you actually inject into your body. So definitely like the gray one better. I couldn't imagine stabbing myself with the pink one because it is thick. Yeah, so that is when I started in my hip, which is my estrogen, which, like I said, I started on the 27th of February. And my estrogen, even up until this point, I've only done those shots in my hip every Thursday and Sunday. So kind of got me used to doing the shots in my hip just because it wasn't an everyday thing, even though I was still doing it every day in my belly. At least I only could do it Thursday and Sunday in my hip. So it made it a little bit easier. So that is the first page. And then we move on to still doing Lupron in my belly every day, estrogen every Thursday, Sunday. And then my last injection in my belly was on March 12th. So I was doing daily shots in my belly from February 15th to March 12th. Every single day in my belly. And I was so glad that it was over because by that time I was bruised up. I was over it. So yeah, so then that started. But after, so on March 13th, which is the day after I stopped the ones in my belly, I started daily shots in my hip. And then every Thursday and Sunday doing 2 shots in my hip, one in the morning, one at night. So daily in my hip, and then Thursday, Sunday, 2 a day. So you can see how the medication process is tiresome. It affects your body a lot. There's a lot of like side effects, like the progesterone that I started on March 13th. After I started taking that, I started like getting symptoms of like either my period coming or like I was already pregnant. My boobs were very, very sore, tired, nausea, it was just crazy. Like I felt like I was pregnant and I was just doing these shots. So, once I started my progesterone, which was the daily hip injections, I also started, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I started daily, whatever that is, doxycycline, whatever that is, and then my prednisone. I had both of these medications. I took the doxy, this one, twice a day, and then I started the prednisone, it looks like daily, starting on March 14th. So in those span of 3 days, the March 12th, 13th, and 14th, I stopped and started a lot of different medications, whether it be pill version or the injectable medication. So I started a lot of new things during that time. And then also, not only did I take the medication, which I think that the prednisone and the doxy, whatever that is, I think it was just kind of to help not get an infection because the transfer is coming up after these dates. So a lot of those things. But once I started the progesterone, I started the aspirin as well daily, and then my prenatal vitamin daily. I have just actually 3 left of each. So I'm getting a new shipment of medication come Monday, and it is Sunday, so tomorrow. So yeah, so I've been taking those daily just to, prep my body, things like that. And so after I started the progesterone and those 2 types of pills, I had an appointment on March 17th, which was the day before the transfer here in Texas. And it was just to check my progesterone levels, making sure that everything looked good for the transfer that was about to happen, things like that. So I had an appointment the day before, and then March 18th was my transfer day, and that's actually when we went to San Diego. And if you haven't seen our little clip of the beautiful city of San Diego, definitely go check that out because we experienced just a lot of different beaches, La Jolla, and it was just beautiful. Definitely want to go back to actually vacation there, but it was a nice little relaxing time. But yeah, so that was the transfer, and that happened on March 18th. Now, just to kind of get us to today's date, just to kind of get us to where we're at, today is March 29th. So it has been a week and a half. Yeah, a week and a half since the transfer, and I will just kind of go into detail about what I'm feeling right now, what's happening, things like that. Okay, so like I said, we are a week and a half after transfer, and I'm feeling more exhausted. Like, I don't know if it's just because we're all quarantined in this house because of the coronavirus or what, but I definitely feel exhausted to where I could just literally sit on the couch all day and not do anything, and I'm totally content. My boobs are very, very tender. I've had no like implantation bleeding. I haven't had any dizziness, any nausea feeling. I haven't had any of that yet. And a lot of times it's too soon to start noticing that. I have about like a week to go until people start saying that they've gotten those symptoms. Because as of right now, I just took this test today and it shows pregnant. Yay! So a baby's stuck, which is super, super exciting. And as of right now, I think they calculated me being like 4 weeks and 6 days or something like that. Because the embryo, when it's transferred, or, the transfer happens, it's not day one. The baby has already been, or the embryo has already been in the petri dish, and things like that have already happened when normally that's happening in my body, but it's not. So we are at that point. Like I said, I have about a week left until people really start saying symptoms start happening, which is about week 6. So nothing too crazy as of right now that's been happening. If you definitely have any questions, comment, send me a text, anything like that. I've been going over a lot of details with my grandma, so if anybody else has questions, processes, how I got into it, just things like that, just shoot me a message, comment, whatever, and let me know, and then I can either make another video if I get a lot of questions, just kind of going through all of it, or I could just kind of answer. It just depends. Videos are a lot easier just because I talk a lot, and so it's easy for me to just talk rather than type. So I have a blood work test on Tuesday, what's that date? The 31st, March 31st. I have an appointment to check my HCG levels, and then I have another appointment on Thursday just to make sure that everything's doubling or, rising how it should be rising. So we will know more after those appointments. But definitely thank you for watching this if you got this far. I know this is probably kind of long because I talk a lot, but definitely, like I said, let me know if you have any questions. I would love to educate and just kind of let everybody know what my process has been like in my experience, I should say. So definitely just let me know if you have any questions. Awesome. Bye, guys.